Hey there, how's it going, guys and gals? So today is my push day workout. I'm gonna be doing a run through of how my push training day went for myself today. Here's just my typical warm up and 6 rep warm up, my stretch out, typical things. Today was actually a beautiful day here in Eastern Kentucky. It was about 63 degrees Fahrenheit, about 17 degrees Celsius, just below room temperature. It was sunny. The wind wasn't very strong. It felt incredible outside, and it was a really good day to get a workout in. Very shocking, for the time of year it is. Usually it's very cold during this time in East Kentucky. We usually have very cold winters, nothing like you guys up north have, like Wisconsin or Alaska or something, or other places in the world that are more northern. It's nothing like you guys have, but it does get pretty cold here. We're typically, around, I guess, 0 degrees Celsius, 30 Fahrenheit during this time of the year. But anyways, today I want to talk about different goals of training, different physique goals that we have. Everybody has different goals. I'd say most of us, want to be shredded. We want to be very low body fat. We want to be able to do all these incredible things that we see, the more advanced athletes do. And, what brings us up today is, I still look like I have some excess body fat, but I actually felt pretty lean today. I think I looked more lean today, this morning when I got up and looked at myself in the mirror, which is, good. And, it's after the holidays, so the diet is getting a little better, getting a little more strict. I did eat some cookies yesterday, I will admit, but, overall, my diet right now has been going a lot better than it did around, Christmas and New Year's and things like that. Thanksgiving, it's had a bad rep for a few, I guess I'd say months now at this point. But anyways. We have different goals for our physique. We have different goals for our fitness. But, the important thing at the end of the day is just to recognize that you don't have to be number one at what you do. This is a hobby for myself. I'm sure some people do athletic things for a living. But this is just a hobby for myself, and I'm sure it is for many other people as well. We need to realize that, that it's just a hobby and that we don't have to be number one. We don't have to let our egos get in the way of our interactions with others, as well as our interactions with ourselves. We don't have to go into the gym. We don't have to go into each workout, with a make or break attitude, with the, today is the day, I'm getting it for sure. Sometimes things don't work out, and you have to recognize that something is not working out for you, and take it easy. Pick a different progression, do something with less resistance, something that will help you advance quicker than anything else in calisthenics, and I'm sure in any other kind of physical activity, is picking something that's the appropriate level for yourself. It's great to push ourselves. We always want to push ourselves to, be able to do more physically demanding things. But what will help us get there is by trying to train the appropriate level of things. Remember that rep quality is so much more important than rep quantity. Don't be bragging that you can bust out 20 or 30 pull-ups when you're pulling yourself 4 inches off the ground and in a real sloppy manner. If you can do 3 really good quality, explode up, slow down reps, that's going to do so much more for you than those sloppy, half reps. Got to listen to your body, like I've said a lot. But today, things were feeling great. It was a beautiful day outside. I almost feel like the energy of Mother Nature was passing through myself. I felt great working out outside. My shoulder was feeling good. I felt very strong. Whether or not I actually am, depending on how you look at it, that's debatable. But what matters the most is how we feel inside. And at the end of the day, we all need to realize that our only competitor is ourselves, and we should strive to be a better version of ourselves every day. That's my, it was a good day, and that's my 2-cent philosophy for the day. But here we're getting into the skill practice. I think this is handstand. Actually, I already done handstand, my bad. This is handstand press. And, yeah, I was going to say, I didn't think I made it. My handstand balance wasn't the best today. I've had some setbacks, with knee surgery, physical therapy, all those things. But I think one of the main things to work on in any kind of handstand movement is taking it slow and working on the control. And also, just a little bonus tip, if you try to contract your core muscles, it's so much easier to balance than if you just kind of loosely kick up into the position. Like, see there, I'm keeping my core tight even though my shoulders are kind of unbalanced. Like, I still lost it, but I held it for a lot longer than I did the first time. Just imagine like you're putting on that weight belt, and the weight belt is your core muscles. But anyways, here's some planche attempts. I've been getting a lot better at this. Still not quite able to get my arms perfectly straight, but I'm like borderline. I'm knocking on the door of the straddle planche. And for a big guy like myself, I'm 5'11", 200 pounds. Somewhere around 95 kilos. For the people across the water, people that use the more accurate system, I will admit. For a guy that size, a straddle planche is quite something. But here I'm getting into the working sets. This is a weighted vest, 40 pound. I'm still at the 40 pound increment. Before I take myself up to say, 48 pounds, that would be, if I add another sandbag, because they're each 8 pounds. Before I, make that commitment, I want to get my rep quality to be absolutely perfect, or at least close to as perfect as I can get. I want to improve. I'll stay around the 12 rep range, but I want them to be cleaner reps. I want them to, I want to feel like I had better form, like I was more in control. And when you do that, that'll actually greatly increase the difficulty. That'll make those 12 reps feel a lot harder than 12 sloppy reps, kind of like I was talking about earlier with the pull-ups. But this was, I felt very strong today, but this was very, very physically demanding. And I'm sure I have my device I'm viewing the video on is muted, but I'm sure you've heard me make some funny noises there. Okay, yeah, and here's another thing, if you don't quite make it to 12 reps, hit a couple negatives. Don't ever be afraid to hit some negatives. Those are one of the greatest building blocks for anything you can do in calisthenics. I would argue, even though it's not my thing, I would say that's also a great thing to have in your mind if you do weightlifting. If you can't hit that rep count you want, try some negatives. Here we're getting into the elevated pike push-ups. These felt, very strong, also very physically demanding. Looking back on this clip, I see how I have my weight on my toes. Even though I didn't quite get to 12 reps on these, I think the next thing I want to try to work on is, instead of having my weight on the bottom of my toes, so to say, I want to try to put the weight on the top of my toes, if you can imagine that. That'll kind of push my body forward, and that'll put just a tiny bit more weight on my shoulders and my arms. And I think that's the progression I want to try to work on, say on the next push day. Here's that second set. I think I did go a little bit more forward on these, but it's still not quite what I was saying I wanted to work on, during the next push day. These felt very challenging. This felt like a very, appropriate level exercise. I need to, I've been trying some harder progressions and more challenging progressions, and like I was saying, you have to be humble, and you have to realize the level that you're at, and train the appropriate level exercise. And sometimes it's even great to go back a progression or two. You got to build a strong foundation, before you try to build the upstairs, so to say, if that makes any sense. So here I'm doing those lateral raises. What I'm doing with my left arm there is I'm kind of judging, just kind of vaguely judging my distance out from what I have the band attached to. That way I can get some consistency. If I do this exercise and every time I grab the band I'm standing, a different distance away from where it's attached, it's going to be a different level of resistance. And it's the little details like that that's important to keep in mind. I see my face there. This is very challenging. That's a pretty good sized band I'm doing that with. But anyways, it's important to have consistency in what we do, because if we don't have consistency, and I'm not just talking about this exercise, this applies to any of the skills we're working, any of the working sets we're working on. If we don't have consistency, we're not going to be able to make rational decisions and judgments on our performance in between each set. So that's something to keep in mind. Coming in for that second set on this. Another good thing to keep in mind, especially if you're struggling to progress in skills, and on top of picking the appropriate progression, it's time under tension. And time under tension is really what makes us strong at the end of the day. Maybe you can't do a full muscle up, or maybe you can't do the positive part of the muscle up where you go up, but try to come down as slow as you can. Or if you can't do a push-up, even try to start at the top of a push-up and try to let yourself down as slow as you can in a negative motion, because I promise you that time under tension is what really makes us strong. You might feel behind, for a few weeks, or a week or two. I don't know how fast you're going to progress, but I promise you, it's the time under tension that causes that slow, gradual muscle breakdown. And it's that slow, gradual muscle breakdown from each workout that, in turn, when we take time off and we rest and recover, that's what makes us stronger. We don't get stronger when we're working out. We're actually getting weaker when we're at the gym, when we're training, when we're breaking down those muscle fibers. But the way our bodies work is very interesting. I'm a health, science, and medicine nerd. I love to study this stuff. What makes us stronger is our bodies are adaptation machines. Also, I just realized I felt like throwing in a freestanding handstand here at the end, just for the heck of it. It's not skill time, but I just felt like trying a freestanding handstand. But here's the stretch out, and things felt great today. Even the dead hang, and also I tried doing the full hang like I talked about last time. The knee felt great. This puts quite a bit of pressure on the ACL, but I took it slow. I kept the muscles flexed, and thankfully things went good. But what I was saying, our bodies are adaptation machines, and that slow muscle breakdown when we work out, we get weaker from that. But then when we go and we take a day or two off, we rest, before we train those same muscles again, our bodies build them back just the tiniest little bit stronger, just the tiniest little bit more durable. And over time, that's why you hear things called progressive overload. That is what causes us to get stronger. We slowly repeat that cycle over and over time, and we get stronger. And that's how that works from a scientific perspective. See, I'm a bit leaner, but I'm still a chunk. Thanks for watching. Let me know if you have any questions.